Hello and welcome to Cranky Commentaries. As always, I'm your host, Jake Del Mastro, and as always, I'm joined by my very good friend and co-host, Keaton Byer. Hello, Keaton.
Hey, how's it going? I just thought of a really great idea for a film.
Yeah?
Yeah, so hear me out. So it opens and it's like, I don't know, kind of like feudal Japan, I suppose.
Yeah?
And then you've got like a bunch of guys there, and there's this guy, like an older guy and his three sons, right?
Yeah?
And then the first son is kind of an idiot, the second son is kind of conniving, and then the third son's like a chill dude. What do you think about my movie idea?
It reminds me of another movie that I watched. I watched it the other day.
Oh, yeah? No, I think we should make my movie. I've already got, like, shot for shot an idea of what it's going to look like.
Really? I don't know. I mean, I was watching a film just the other day. It was a Japanese movie. It was called Ran, I think? Or Ron, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. Who knows? Nobody knows. Oh, yeah, that's a great movie. That's
Is
actually
it?
the film I'm talking about. Should we talk about that movie instead?
Yeah, let's talk about that movie. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I watched it. I've seen it. Yeah, it's a great movie.
Indeed.
So yeah, if you didn't guess, that's the film we're talking about today, Rand. If you didn't guess by our amazing introduction, and the reference that I was making there was to obviously Sergio Leone.
What, did he copy this movie?
No, but he
you
stole
were making
from.
an idea for a movie. I see.
Yeah, that was the whole bit I was doing there.
Okay. Well, okay, so here's my idea.
Okay.
So there's like this I guess he's like he's a guy, he's an old guy, but he's like in charge of like a criminal gang in like the Old West, right?
Oh, that's a good idea.
And then he has
I like
three
that.
sons.
Oh, fuck.
He's got three sons, right? And he has to like bequeath his like
That's a great idea.
operation to these sons, but they're all like untrustworthy, right?
Fuck, that's a great idea
but
for a film.
it's in the Old West. It's not in Japan. I think that's
Oh, it has nothing to do
it's
with Japan.
nothing to do with Japan.
Oh. Yeah, that's a great idea.
So I guess we'll get to it.
Yeah, we can move on. Is there any, before we move on, we have any Crane Kick news? I'm going to start asking you this at the beginning of every podcast.
I don't think so. Do you have any news?
Nope, no Crane Kick news. I just
Why did you
thought I'd
ask?
ask you because I thought maybe you'd have some.
Would I?
I don't know.
Well, I mean,
But you
if there
don't,
was
so it's fine.
if there was news, I think you would know it, wouldn't you?
Most likely I would know it before going in, but,
So
gotta
then
ask,
what's the
and
point of
I'll ask.
asking?
Well, I'll ask you next week and every episode following.
Why don't
this
you just
week.
ask me if there's news when you know there's news?
So this is part one
Yes.
out of two parts.
Yes.
As we usually / always do 2 parts.
Well, there are a couple movies
Um,
we haven't done 2 parts on.
Sometimes it's 1,
Occasionally.
sometimes
yeah.
it's 3.
Yes.
Well, just the one time so far. But so I thought we'd
this
outline
movie,
just a little bit.
if we really wanted to, we could have made this 3.
We'll see how long this episode goes, and no promises. But
So you're saying no promises this might be 3?
yeah, no promises at this point in time. I'm not guaranteeing it as of 2 parts, but here's what we have planned for you. So in this part 1, we're going to go through some of the basic facts, the synopsis, which will be fun for Jake to get through, and then our initial thoughts, and then we've got a bunch of fun segments after that we'll save till the time that we get to them. And then in part 2, we're going to actually talk a lot about the director himself, who we'll get into in a moment.
Yeah, we'll talk about
Akira
sort
Kurosawa.
of also where he got his influences for this film.
Exactly, and
then
we'll talk about that a bit this episode
Yeah.
as well. But
we will, yeah, and then we're gonna do some mystery segment, and then we'll give our final thoughts, as always.
and yeah, of course, always end on the final thoughts
Yeah.
after some sort of mystery segment that only those above know the contents of. Well, let's move on to the basic facts.
Basic facts, indeed. Basically, Ran in Japanese means chaos or turmoil, also rebellion or revolt. Which
So it's an
it's
extremely
extremely
accurate
on the
title.
nose title.
Yeah, I like it.
So, director director Akira Kurosawa.
Yes.
I think actually we talked a little bit before about potentially like doing like films by like quote unquote great directors to try to like I don't know what our plan was. It was just kind of to
It was a free form plan that we didn't really
right.
nail down.
Well,
but
but we are doing that, just
we are
very
doing
haphazardly.
in a haphazard way. Yeah, exactly.
So, but anyway, my point is, I would put Akira Kurosawa in that caliber.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think we've mentioned him before.
We definitely
just in
have.
passing a couple times, mostly just because of his stature.
Yeah.
So you said he directed this film, but actually he also
Well, I didn't.
co-wrote.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I didn't mean to say
I wasn't stopping there.
that you weren't gonna go on.
Yeah.
The point being that he also co-wrote and edited this film, which is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I think he tended to do a lot of editing
So,
himself.
have you seen any other films that any of the lead actors have been in that you're familiar with?
Yes. Okay, let me just because I've seen Kagemusha obviously, and I think there's a lot of overlap with that movie. I've seen.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say there's probably some overlap, but
Yeah, I've seen Rashomon. I don't know if there's any connections, but this is Akira Kurosawa movies, right?
there is some overlap. There's quite a bit of overlap now that I'm looking at it.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you've seen, like, I think Akira Kurosawa tends to work with, like, the same actors over and over again.
Yeah.
Most notably, Toshiro Mifune, who is not in this movie, actually.
Not in this movie, but we have talked about him before.
Yeah, we did, actually.
And we might talk about him again.
We might. Yeah, so I've definitely seen a lot of these actors before.
Yeah. I watched Yojimbo fairly recently.
Yeah?
It's a good movie.
I mean, if you've ever seen Fistful of Dollars, you've also seen Yojimbo.
Yeah, I suppose so. Well, I don't know if that's entirely true. I feel like it's more fair to say if you've seen Yojimbo, you've also seen Fistful of Dollars. I think that's the more fair way to say it.
Okay.
To Kurosawa.
Right, yeah.
What we're alluding to is again Sergio Leone being a bit of a what's the word I'm looking
Plagiarist?
for? Plagiarist. Yeah, sure. That's a lot more straight up than what I was looking for. But yeah, exactly. That's literally what it is. So that's we'll call it.
Well, I
what it
mean,
is.
to be fair, he did pay Kurosawa, or at least Toho.
Yeah, that's true. They got paid off. So. They made almost no money off that film. Anyway, that's all that. If you want to know more about that, listen to the Once Upon a Time in the West episode, which I believe is our last single part episode.
Well, that's very
I
possible.
mean, there's been a couple like specials.
Well, I think Die
then,
Hard was a single part.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but
Anywho, the other weird thing about this film is that it's a like co-production.
Yes.
Between
it was a French company and I think Toho, right?
Yeah, exactly. What do you want to pronounce the French company there? Do you want to just read that?
Auteurs Associés.
C'est bon. And also Toho.
Yeah.
Which we mentioned.
In Japan, I believe.
Yeah, so we'll get into there's a lot more of these little basic fact details, but we'll get into all more of these kind of next week when we talk about the production. So do you want to, before we go any further, let's really get into the meat of this film. Why don't you give us the synopsis? Take us through this film.
So, let's start at the beginning.
That's a good fucking place to do it with this film.
So this, let me just, okay, this is a pretty long movie, so I'm gonna gloss over some things.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But so
spoilies abound.
Yeah, we'll start off in Japan. There is a sort of like lord,
a warlord.
Well, yeah, I'm getting to Lord Hidetora Ichimonji, and he is getting old. He says
He
he's
looks it.
yeah, he says he's 70, I think. Which is actually kind of funny because the actor who plays him is now 88, so he would have been considerably younger than 70 when he did the film.
No, yeah, the old man. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can.
Yeah,
We'll talk about it.
yeah. But anyway, he was so this Lord Hidetora Ichimonji. He's getting old, and he wants to bequeath, I guess, some of his empire to his sons.
Yeah, sounds a lot like the film I was talking about earlier.
It does sound like that. It also sounds like something else. And if you pick up on that, we'll get to it later.
Indeed.
So he has three sons: Taro, Jiro, and Saburo. And they all hear this plan that he's going to basically give Taro his first castle, he's going to give Jiro his second castle, and he's going to give Saburo his third castle.
Taro gets the best castle as the firstborn.
Well, yeah, but also Taro gets to be in charge.
Yeah, he's like
But
new guy.
but Hidetora is going to keep his title and just going to kind of chill around the castle with all his buds.
Yeah, title's immediately a big red flag. At least change the title.
Wow. Nah, he's got to keep it because he's the Lord the House of Ichimonji,
The grand,
man.
grand lord or whatever.
So Taro and Jiro, they're very on board with this plan, but Saburo, his youngest son, is immediately suspect about this, and he's like, so by the way, you know how you got all this shit by basically doing some sketchy things because you're a warlord and that, and you had to kill a lot of people. Do you really think that you can just trust your empire to anybody else?
To just be chill, with some other person
and then
in charge.
He's like, yeah, it's kind of a foolish thing to do. And then Hidetora's like, don't you fucking talk back to me.
Yeah, you stupid little motherfucker.
And then he's like, I'm just trying to do what's in your best interest, man. I'm just trying to be honest with you.
Yeah, and then Tango is
Tango
man.
is like, yeah, he tells the truth. He's brash, but he tells the truth. And but Hidetora's like, nah, fuck you. You don't even get the third castle. In fact, I banish you. You are now exiled. And you too, Tango, because fuck you.
Bit rash, but he is the Grand Lord.
Yeah, he's the daimyo. Okay, so then Saburo's like, well, fuck you, I don't need you anyway. So he just leaves. And on his way out, he is met by
some guy.
No, who's the other? I can't remember his name. He has a name. I'm looking at the cast here to try to remember which guy it was. Yes, Fujimaki.
Oh yeah.
Catches up with them as Tango and Saburo are leaving, and he's like, Fujimaki is another warlord. He's like, hey, I see how you handled your that situation back there. I like how you speak your mind. How about you come marry my daughter?
Yeah, come marry my daughter.
Because I mean, you're gonna be an exile, and that's probably not gonna be very fun. So why don't you just come chill with me? And then he's like,
and Saburo is just like, that's crazy. I've never met your daughter.
Yeah, but Saburo's like, okay, fine, I'll come with you, Fujimaki. You seem cool, and sure. I don't know who your daughter is, but I guess I'll marry her.
Yeah,
and
right,
that's the last we see
in.
of Saburo for a little while.
For quite a while, yeah.
Meanwhile, fucking Taro is he's hanging out in the castle, his new castle, because he's now in charge of it. But his dad is being all rowdy. Um,
Yeah. His dad's being all rowdy. They all and like
and his wife, Lady Kaida, who just gives off sketchy vibes, um, is
well,
immediately like, sorry.
she's not. Well, yeah, okay. She gives off
I
slightly
mean, she has
conniving vibes.
like she has reasons for being that way, but like
Yeah, yeah. She's
she's
conniving,
definitely
but
sketchy.
she's yeah.
Anyway, she's like, why did he get to keep the title? When you should really be the have the title, you know?
Yeah, she
You're
calls him a shadow
yeah, exactly. So he's like, well, I don't know, cause I don't
because
know.
he's still around. He's
Yeah,
still there.
but
He's
but she's like, you need to go, uh, make sure that your dad makes you like gives you the title for
yeah. He has
pride.
to like
Yeah, because
step down for real.
basically, one day, when you know, oh, I completely haven't even mentioned the character of the fool yet.
The fool. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so anyway, there's a fool, who is
A
like,
jester, if you will.
yeah, named Kayomi, and he is like,
Very important, integral character.
very rowdy. Is I think that
Rowdy. No, it's eccentric.
yeah, no, what I'm saying, like, this whole chain of events gets set off when essentially the fool writes a song about Taro, which is making fun of him.
Right. Yeah, and the fool is unwaveringly loyal to what's his name, the original Great Lord,
Hidatora.
Hidatoro.
And so basically, the warriors of Taro are incredibly offended by this, and one of them draws a sword on the fool and seems about to kill him when he gets shot by an arrow fired by none other than Lord Hidatora himself
From the tower.
from the
It's
tower that he's
badass.
hanging out in. Um,
Saves the fool.
this incident does not go over well with Taro.
Yeah, Toro's pissed.
Well, I mean, I
As
don't know if
is,
Taro is pissed so much as, like, I guess he
he
seems.
seems genuinely pissed as well, but yeah,
Yeah,
what's her name?
Lady Kieda is
Lady Kieda
is
seems
mad because basically I guess she sees it as like emasculating him.
yeah, and like he's the leader, and like
Yeah, why should he have to deal
one of
with
his
this
guards
shit?
got
Killed and he's
got
not even doing anything
murdered.
about it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Um,
It's intense shit, man.
So basically, he delivers an ultimatum to his father, and it's like, you need to give me the title.
Basically, just it needs to be a proper succession.
Yeah, you need to like fucking abdicate fully, or you're out of here. Kind of thing.
Or I'm gonna make you do it.
Yeah, or I'm gonna kick your ass out of here, and you need to sign this fucking form with your blood.
Yeah, blood document.
and he says basically, I'll sign your fucking form, but fuck you, I'm leaving anyway.
Yeah, I'm not gonna come back because I hate you. You're my least favorite son now.
Yeah,
Other
so now he's down one son. Two sons, if you count.
Two sons. Yeah.
Saburo, he's already banished.
He banished. Yeah.
So he goes to the
Saburo.
castle number 2, where Jiro is hanging out. And meanwhile, Jiro has got info from Taro that fucking Hidetoro's bad news.
He's off the He's off the rails.
He's off his
rocker.
rocker, and that
and he's off the rails. He's stirring shit up. His guards are
especially
rowdy.
his guards are rowdy. So Jiro is like, well, I'll let you come in, but not your guards.
He doesn't like that.
And he's like, well, fuck you. I'm not in with that, so I'm just gonna fuck off. And so he goes and I guess he talks to he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna go do my own thing. So I guess he's trying to get some food from the local peasants, but they won't give it to him.
Well, they're gone, right?
Yeah, they're gone because basically they heard from Taro that they
Yeah,
should,
word of mouth spread or whatever.
yeah, that they should fuck off and stay away from him. And so he's
Yeah.
like, well, fucking, this is bullshit. I guess I'm going to castle number 3.
Here I go, and that's the empty castle, right?
Yeah, well, so there are some troops here. But so when he comes to the castle, he's like, all right, I'm hereby claiming this castle in the name of Lord Hidetora. And they're
This
like,
is my castle now,
and so the people at the
motherfuckers.
castle are like, fine, we don't want the castle, you know? We're loyal to
serve-
Lord Saburo. And
Yeah,
we're
we
gonna
don't give a
go,
shit.
yeah, we're gonna go back and see,
We'll go find him and
yeah,
serve
we're
him.
going to Fujimaki's place to go serve Saburo because he's the best.
Yeah, we're his guys.
So I guess he begrudgingly is like, well, fuck it. I guess I'm hanging out in this castle now with my boys. But he's not really having a good time, you know.
No, he's like, I'm in this castle, but I'm not gonna be happy about it. I
Yeah.
got my own castle, and
Yeah,
and
but I want
30
I want the tower and the big castle.
I want the big castle. Yeah, exactly.
So, but meanwhile, like things are kind of coming to a head with Jiro and Taro, and they're like, "Well, why don't we like join forces and we'll take the third castle from our dad?"
Yeah,
Because
and,
we
like,
have
you
no
know,
loyalty at all, by the way.
Yeah, they don't give a shit. They're like, fuck him. He's old and crazy. We're gonna fucking.
We're gonna take castle number 3 from him. So we commence to see massive battle scene, which is
He wakes up to the most intense battle I've ever seen in my life.
oh, it's. I mean, Lord of the Rings ain't got nothing on this.
Yeah, well, hold up there, but almost. I think that it's a very comparable scenario.
Okay. Anyway, so meanwhile, all of Hidetora's guards are slaughtered, and he's kind of going crazy, from this traumatic experience, I guess.
Well, his guards are about to die, right? They're about to be killed. So they like scream up the stairs. They're like, "Prepare yourself, master! Like it's been like farewell," and then they get killed. So they mean like
Yeah.
prepare to kill yourself because like a bunch of other people
Yeah.
have already committed seppuku. So he's like sits there and then he goes to draw his sword, but he realizes he already threw his sword a long time ago, so he doesn't have a sword. So he starts scrambling around looking for a knife to kill himself
Yeah.
with. But he can't find one, so then he goes crazy.
So anyway, he leaves the castle, and he's basically let out by all the troops because they're like, well, "We're not gonna fucking kill him." Like, you know, I think we accomplished what we need to do
Yeah.
here. But in kind of all this chaos, Taro gets killed by one of Jiro's men.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I guess Jiro is like, well, now I have 3 castles, right?
Yeah. Oh no, I'm the king of everything now.
Yeah, turns out that I planned this all along.
Yeah. Yeah. So he was the conniviest of the three brothers.
Yeah, but he's about to meet his match. Because Lady Kaida is all like, you know, I guess you killed my husband, but I don't really even give a fuck about him. You know, why don't...
Yeah, a little bit of her backstory. Just
Oh,
that
yeah,
she,
yeah,
I
yeah.
think she's explained at this point a little bit, but like, she's the big castle was originally hers when Hedetore.
Well, yeah, her family's castle, yeah.
Yeah, he like pillaged it and like forced
Killed her
into
entire
marriage.
family, and then,
Yeah.
forced her to, like, marry his son. So, like, needless to say, she's been through some pretty rough shit, but, like...
Yeah, she doesn't like him or his family at all. She could
Yeah.
give two fucks about them.
So, but she's like, well, you know, I think you should marry me instead of your wife.
Yeah, she seduces him.
Yeah. And then I guess he's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. you're much better apparently than my wife in every
But
way. So I'm
but
gonna.
I don't know. I don't know if I should kill my wife.
Well, he's like, I'm gonna divorce my wife, and she's like,
No,
no,
you have to
that's not
kill
good
her.
enough.
Yeah.
I want her. I want her dead.
Yeah.
And he's like, whoa.
Yeah, so I don't like the sequence of events is getting kind of muddy in my head, but meanwhile, I guess like Hidetora is like wandering around with the fool and
Yeah, well, there's a lot of crazy rambling.
oh, and
wandering
Tango showed up.
around. Yeah.
Now Tango is like he was allegedly sent to look after Hidetora by
Yeah,
Saburo.
well, he I don't really know what happened to him. He rode off in a different direction for a while, then he came back.
Yeah.
Apparently, as you say, yeah.
Yeah. So
Saburo.
fucking basically those three now have like nowhere to go. So they come upon like an old wooden shack. And they find this guy in there who doesn't want to let them in. But then they do eventually come in and they find out that he's a blind man. But the reason why he's blind is because back in the day, Hidetora, he was a member of one of the families that he
It's
basically
getting convoluted
killed,
here.
and that he ordered this child's eyes gouged out.
Yeah,
So like I referenced earlier that Hidetora did some sketchy shit in the past,
precisely it. Yeah,
and
yeah,
this
yeah.
is that. This is
That's it.
prime example. So he's
so-
like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't like you, but I'm gonna play this flute."
I don't like you, but I'm going to show you my hospitality
Yeah, by playing this flute.
of the heart
Exactly.
by playing this shrill flute for you.
Exactly. And so, like, needless to say, this horrifies everybody involved. And like this further underscores the descent into madness of Hidetora.
Yeah, he's really gone. So this blind kid, his relationship is confusing because so he's Jiro's
Wife's brother. Yes.
and Jiro's wife is who this other lady
Jiro's
wants
original
dead.
wife, Lady Sue.
Sue.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. There's this guy he fucked over in the past, basically.
Yeah, and he awakens some demons.
Yeah, so he's like fully descending into madness. He doesn't know where he is. But meanwhile, in Jiro's castle, what's his name? Kurogane gets ordered to kill his wife, Sue.
Yeah. And he's a little bit not down with this.
But he's not down with that, so I guess he like pretends to do it, and then he comes back with his head his head wrapped in cloth, and he unwraps it, and it's basically it's a fox
head?
Yeah. And he proceeds to make a funny joke about the sly fox.
This guy wins me over right here.
Yeah, exactly. And why basically there's this whole like he's not so subtly hinting that Lady Kaeda is manipulating Jiro.
Yeah, extremely overtly implies it.
Exactly. But anyway, this is all happening. In the meantime, there's news of apparently Saburo is coming back.
That's right. Yeah. Well,
They're saying like Saburo's crossing the river or something like that. But then like they're like, why is he doesn't have any troops? But then they're like, oh wait, he's reinforced by Lord Fujimaki.
that's right. He's got like double the.
So Saburo's come back for his father, and he's like, so Jiro, I guess.
Yeah, he's got just a small contingent of guys.
Yeah, he's like, Jiro, just give me Hidetora, and I will leave with no bloodshed.
Yeah, he's like, just let me go find our father, and then I will leave, and nothing has to happen. It's all cool. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, and then I guess Jiro's like, at first he's like, okay, sure.
Yeah, well, he's like, okay, sure. And then
But we don't know
turns
where
to
he is.
his
Also.
side guy, and he goes like, "Yeah,
So once you
Wink.
find him, you can take him away.
yeah."
But anyway, they eventually get kind of sketched out by the fact that there are more troops here. And so they're like, oh no, we need to make a preemptive strike.
Yeah, well, Jiro gets extremely like, power thirsty, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Huh, I could like take more power and territory all of a sudden,
Yeah, exactly.
I should do that right now
So
while I
we
have
in
the
fact
opportunity."
need to attack Saburo, which he does. But also,
But
meanwhile, they find
the fool comes running up to them and is
and
like,
he's like, this is where Hidatora is.
exactly. So then they ride off with a contingent. Saburo rides
To
off.
go find Hidatora. Meanwhile, Lady Sue and the guy with no eyes, her brother, are what are they doing again? They're just leaving.
They're fleeing because
they're fleeing
because
I
what's
think
his
she
name?
knows that Lady Kid is gonna try to kill her.
Yeah, the cool guy, the awesome guy warned
Kurogane.
him.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're leaving, and but they're like, oh no, we forgot the flute.
Not they. Specifically, the fucking kid is like, I forgot my flute. I have to go back for it. But that obviously means he can't go back for it. So like
Well, the guy with no eyes.
Yeah, the guy with no eyes. is
No,
like,
but then
"We have
he's
to go
like,
back for it."
I don't know, I don't really need the flute. It's okay. Like,
No, that's later. At that moment in time, he's like, he insists, I need it.
yeah, so they
And
go
then
back
the
to the
old
flute.
lady goes back.
The old lady goes back to the flute, but she never comes back.
Like they're like, yeah, their attendant goes back. So Sue and eyeless guy keep running away.
Yeah, exactly. So then they okay, so there's this big battle. That's
Big
a lot
one.
of this movie. It's big battles and
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah. Good shit.
It's
Good shit.
and basically there's this battle happening, and turns out that there's a bunch that part of Lord Fujimaki's army was actually a decoy, and that instead of fighting on like this plane, that they were actually taking the first castle.
They were sneakily taking the other castle.
While the main army was fighting them, Saburo and Lord Fujimaki's army. But
they pulled an old...
and they were also kind of getting their ass kicked because Saburo has guns.
Well, not just that. They all have guns.
Well,
just
they all have
Saburo
guns. Yeah.
Saburo was,
has them like hiding in the trees.
Yeah, they were like all in the trees, so their numbers were useless.
Exactly. Anyway, Saburo is kicking ass in this battle, but okay, now we're at the flute part.
Now,
So the guy is like, well, no, she didn't come back with the flute. I don't know. I don't really need the flute. Let's just get the fuck out of here.
yeah,
But Lady Tsue is like, no, we need to get the fucking flute.
I'm going back for the.
I'm going back
flute.
for the flute. But don't worry, take this picture of the Buddha to protect you.
Yeah, take this fucking piece of paper to protect you.
And
The
he's
person
like,
can-
kind of like, really? But okay, I guess. I mean,
Like this. It's like, this is not. What has Buddha done for me yet?
yeah, I know. And then she's just like, trust. And then
Because she's like super religious, or super, super religious.
yeah. And so she never comes back either. We are at the back at Jiro's army, and one of the guys is riding in with something wrapped in cloth,
Oh yeah, right.
and then it's unwrapped, and it turns out that it's Lady Tsue's head. I guess
Just
Kurogane
like-
sees this. Just
He's horrified.
yeah, he's horrified. He's like, come on. So then one of my favorite scenes in the movie, Kurogane confronts Lady Kaeda, and then she's like,
Oh yeah.
yes, she's like, you drove the Ichimonji clan into ruin, and he's like, why did you fucking wreck everything? And she's like, because I hate the Ichimonji clan, because they ruined
Yeah.
my life, which is
Yeah,
true.
Yeah. She like witnessed her mom kill herself in front of
Yeah.
her,
And
and then had to live in that room as
Yeah.
like
yeah, and then But then he's like, well, I guess you admitted it, but now I'm gonna decapitate you.
Yeah, so he does that.
And there is
One
a lot
go.
of blood.
Big slice. Yeah, that's great scene, great slash, great
Yeah, excellent
fucking
camera
still.
work too. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
how the camera just kind of moves out of the way and you just see the blood.
So good.
Yeah. Anyway, what was I gonna say? Anyway, so she gets killed. Juro gets killed too. Um, Basically, Jiro's army got fucked. Basically, Saburo and Fujimaki now are basically taking over all the castles, and Saburo has been reunited with Hidetora. And he's like, "Oh, father, how good is it? How good it is to see you again." And
finally, like
finally,
we can be
after all this
father
time,
and son
we can
again.
be father and son again. I'm sorry that
And-
I said all those things about you and that I banished you, but
Yeah, like I love you. I can't wait to have a one-on-one talk with you. That's all I want in this world. That's all
Yeah.
I need to be happy.
And then some sort of straggling members of Jiro's army shoot Hidetora. No, shoot Saburo.
Yeah,
and
he
Saburo
dies, just
falls
like
over
that.
dead. Yeah, then they run away. But anyway, the Fool and Hidetora react to this, and they are dismayed, Like, how could
Yeah.
this happen? What did he do to deserve this? And then
Hidetora
Hidetora
of
dies
grief.
of shock, essentially. Dies of something. He just dies.
Yeah.
Being
He
old.
dies of grief
Yeah. Dies of grief. And
instantaneously.
so now the Fool has a little speech.
Yeah, starts to blaspheme just a little bit.
Yeah. What about the Buddha?
Yeah, just a little bit, but gets cut
Yeah.
off before it goes too far.
Well, I mean, and then sort of that happens, and then in the final scene, now everybody's dead. We now cut to what's the guy? What's his name? The guy with his eyes cut out. Surumaru. Surumaru.
Surumaru.
Yeah. I probably said that wrong. I'm sorry. That
He's
should have
got-
been in the pronunciation guide. Surumaru is he's like hanging out.
He's got his
Just-
Buddha.
He's got his Buddha, and he's kind of hanging out, just kind of precariously sitting on a ledge, because that's just where that's where they left him.
Yeah, they just left him in the fucking ruins. So he starts wandering towards the ledge with his stick.
Yeah,
Tapping
feeling around,
away.
and he accidentally drops the fucking Buddha thing off the cliff.
Well, because he almost falls off the cliff, so
Yeah.
he has to stagger to catch himself, and he drops the picture of the Buddha, and it flutters down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And we're also shown that nearby the shack where they went to go find the flute, there are now 2 decapitated bodies.
Two corpses with no heads. I wonder where they went.
Yeah. And so he's just kind of left there all alone. And then I think the final shot is just on a picture of the Buddha.
Yeah, either that or the wide shot of just him.
Yeah. That's it. One or the other. But that's the end. That's it. Everybody
So there
dies.
you go. That's your film. I don't know if you
And does that sound familiar to
do
anyone?
you recognize it from anything you may have studied or read in your free time?
If you if you studied Shakespeare in high school, you may recognize that this is the plot of King Lear.
Now, not identically.
Not identical, but very close. I mean,
But
I think
very, very close.
thematically it's more different than it is like plot wise.
Yeah, like that. I think, like, yeah.
'Cause, I mean,
but
I
for
think the
scene
biggest-
for act by act,
Yeah.
it's the same.
But like, I think the biggest difference is like that Hidetora is kind of a dick, but King Lear is just an idiot.
Yeah, we'll get into all. You know what? That's all for part 2.
Yeah.
As we said earlier, so we'll get into all the King Lear stuff in part 2. So we'll put the brakes on all of this for now, and we can move on.
But yeah, hopefully that didn't take too long.
No, that was fine.
Explain that. But yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces. It's a big long movie. It's like 3-something hours.
Yeah, it's a kind of a difficult movie to do a brief synopsis
But
of.
I think I hit on all the main points.
Yeah, I think
So
he did a pretty freaking good job there. Do you have any initial thoughts before we really get into some stuff here?
yes, fucking excellent. This movie's awesome.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you like big epic battle scenes. This is the movie for you.
Yeah. So tell me what drew you to this movie in the first place?
So basically, I first heard of this movie because in my high school English class, where I studied Shakespeare, by the way,
What a coincidence.
where there was this movie poster on the wall, and it was for this movie, and I thought it looked fucking cool. There was like a big guy on a horse. They were all wearing classic like samurai type armor on it, and then there was just this
Yeah,
it
I'm
said
sure we'll
Ran,
post
and then it had these
poster.
like kanji characters on it as well, and I just thought it looked really cool. And Akira Kurosawa, who I'd heard of before, so that's why I watched this movie initially, and it completely ticked all those boxes. Yeah, it's just
So sick.
Also, like, if you've listened to this podcast, you probably have like gleaned the fact that I like epic films.
Long, epic, big films.
Yes, and this is definitely that.
This, is exactly that. 100%.
Yeah.
Every frame in this movie looks like a painting.
Well, there's a reason for that.
Yeah, well, there is a reason for that,
Yeah.
which we will get into next week,
Yes.
more so. But the long and the short of it is that there is a painting
Yeah.
for every
Scene. Yeah. No, not
at least.
every
I don't know
frame,
about every
but
frame, but
yeah.
it is framed like every.
Oh yeah, like it's definitely like the blocking and staging is all like very, very particular. This is kind of a classic hallmark of a Kurosawa movie. Kurosawa movie is that, like, everybody is meticulously staged. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
And-
like the actors
and
are all in
blocked,
like a perfect line.
Yeah.
It's
like, I mean,
it's very like also this movie it's a lot like a Stanley Kubrick,
yeah.
but
I was gonna say also
will-
like Wes Anderson or whatever, right? Like it's all
Yeah,
like
right.
very geometric and like everything, right? Like,
that is true.
yeah, but yeah, no, it's good shit. What do you think?
Yeah. Oh, it's excellent. I love this movie.
When was the first time you watched it? And did you was it that time that I showed it to you while we were making beer?
Yeah, I think that was the first time I watched it.
Yeah. Because we needed something that was like gonna take a while.
We needed something that it was exactly like 2.5 hours or something.
Yeah, exactly. And it was this movie. And yeah.
And then it was this movie. It was spot on. A little bit longer, I
Yeah.
think. But
Like the one thing I will concede is like this movie is somewhat hard to follow.
it's hard to follow, but I think the subtitles definitely, honestly, with me, helped following what was going on specifically.
Right.
Because I caught a lot of little things. Because I find, with old...
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things I find with the subtitles, like especially in a movie like this, which is so visual, is that like oftentimes I'll miss something in the subtitles because I was busy admiring like the vistas or whatever.
Yeah, that is a difficult, there's a difficult battle there.
Yeah,
it's kind
exactly.
of a back and a forth between like trying to figure out what's going on by reading the dialogue and like wanting to just stare at every corner of every frame.
Exactly. Yeah. So
So
but
it
yeah.
does benefit from rewatches.
It
this
definitely
movie.
does. Yeah, I would say it does.
But even without it, it
Yeah.
is just visually awesome.
Yeah.
Without
I would also
that.
say like unlike last week's film, which definitely like I think the spoilers make it definitely less good. Knowing what happens in this movie does not affect my enjoyment of this movie.
no, yeah, that's honestly unrelated. Really to the ultimate
Yeah,
outcome, as
like-
most people, it's an adapted story, so that's
Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
goes without saying that it's
So it's
kinda-
like the what's interesting about this film is like not what happens but how it happens, right? You know what I mean?
yeah, exactly. So this film we mentioned it's based off of King Lear,
Yes.
which is not entirely accurate.
I mean, it's plot and structure are taken from King Lear, but the impetus for the movie did not come from King Lear.
No, he did not read King Lear and think, I need to make this into a film. Or
No.
perhaps he did, but it was not originally tied to this film.
No, definitely. So I think initially he had this idea that he wanted to make a historical type film about this legendary Japanese daimyo, and he initially did not have like a story for it. He just had all these ideas, right?
Yeah, which is kind of similar again to Stanley Kubrick and Barry Lyndon, except not exactly.
Yeah,
the
it's true.
same,
He
but
just kind of wanted to make like that kind of movie, but he didn't actually have a story to do it with, so he just picked Barry
I mean
Lyndon.
it's different because I guess he had all the research done, so I guess that's kind of why he wanted to do it. But still,
Yeah.
um,
Although
so
I would also say that Kagemusha is definitely was also probably good research for. I mean, Akira Kurosawa was definitely familiar with this period because he'd done so much shit set at this time.
yeah. Like this is kind of because I don't know if we'll go again. We'll go into his kind of whole career next week as we lay kind of the foundation and we do the production. This is kind of like later in his career, right? Like it's
Yes, so this was
might even be his last
1985.
film.
I don't know. No, it's not his last film.
Oh, okay.
This is 1985, so it was like very late in his career. Yeah.
And it doesn't. It feels like 10 years, like it was made 10 years before that, doesn't
The
it?
reason for that is because of the like how epic it is. And it's
Yeah.
like I think people stopped making movies like that after the 60s, basically.
They stopped making them in that style.
Yeah. But I mean like, it's not like it looks dated or anything. It's the kind of movie that it is.
No, yeah, it's
Is
just
not a
got that
movie that's
feeling.
often kind of made, in this day and age or even in the 80s.
Yeah. So the guy he based it off of it was a warlord named Mori Motonari.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to read this quote just before we get into it that Kurosawa said about this guy, this warlord?
What that he says? I like his personality. He lived far from Kyoto. If he lived in Kyoto, he would have united Japan. So Kyoto, for those of you who don't know, was at the time basically the capital of Japan, right?
Yeah, that was the center of action. So this is just a little quote to describe who this guy was from Harry Cook's 1993 book Samurai: The Story of a Warrior Tradition. Mori Motonari maintained that even close relatives should not be trusted. According to one well-known story, Motonari once gave each one of his 3 sons a single arrow and invited them to break it. He then gave them 3 arrows to show how difficult it was to break the arrows when they were held together.
Interesting. So yeah, that scene is fully lifted and put into this movie.
Yeah.
There's a scene where he gives the arrows. And
well, yeah, exactly. Well, what I was looking into is apparently, so this is extremely well-known kind of parable, like the 3 arrows. Yeah, like I think I actually heard it before, but even more so in Japan, it's more well-known. Just as some examples of how well-known it is, I've included just a few links here, just for things, some popular culture things it's been included in. This guy has been referenced in. Yeah, exactly. The parable and this warlord. So the first one's a chair.
Right.
That has a great description. As the parable of the powerful daimyo Mori Motonari's 3 arrows demonstrates, one single component may lack the strength needed, but a plurality of parts united can provide that strength. This chair allows children to experience that truth in practical terms by assembling the chair themselves.
Okay.
It goes on, but
I mean, seeing this chair, I guess it does have 3 sort of main pieces, but it's like
main pieces. Yeah, it's a fun looking little chair.
But I'm not sure I see the analogy.
Yeah, it's a pretty dramatic chair.
Yeah, it's very Japanese looking.
Like, read the first set. Will you just do me a favor and read the first sentence on this website
It is
out
beyond
loud?
fantasy to imagine any kind of quick fix or magic bullet that could eradicate the terrorism flaring up all over the world, but it is unrealistic to see education as an effective means of ameliorating the situation. This is a Japanese
good stuff.
website, right?
Yeah, I think this is translated. I didn't translate it, but
I'm pretty sure that's probably not a good translation.
probably not. The terrorism flaring up. So the next one we have is the Mori dance troupe
Okay.
called Samurai Ninja Theater.
Well, these guys look like they're serious.
These guys are awesome. This is awesome. So the lead guy in this dance troupe has kind of branded himself as like the Matanari, Mori Matanari, and they do essentially. Here, let me read the description. The 1 hour show costs you 2,000 yen. While I'm reading this, you need to figure out how much that is in Canadian dollars.
Okay, how much, Chan?
2,000 yen. So the 1 hour show costs 2,000 yen, though the fee includes a soft drink, beer, or cocktail.
22.80. That's not bad.
That's really cheap. The fee includes a soft drink, beer, or cocktail, which can be enjoyed at your seat. Split into two parts, the first half of the show is made up of a leaping ninja performance. Some
Yeah,
more
man, this is
Balefic-
definitely worth my 22.80.
Already, I'm sold. Yeah, like you can have it. And historical reconstructions introducing the three Mori clan samurai who are the stars of the show.
What?
Montanari
Taro,
is
Jiro, and Sawuro?
I think that's who they're supposed to be.
Well, I mean,
Montanari-
not that they are actual people, but...
Montanari is a leader of the Aki Hiroshima Bushotai gang and takes center stage. Under Mori Montanari of the Tale of the Three Arrows fame, the Mori clan expanded their power base from a small enclave in the... See, they start giving a history lesson here.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then there's also... do you want to take the lead on this next one? Do you want to click this next one and tell me about this next one?
Okay, I'm just going to say right off the bat, I know nothing about Japanese politics. So...
No, me neither. This is totally out of context Japanese politics we're jumping into.
So the title of the thing you have linked me to is called Abenomics and the Three Arrows Explained. So the former Prime Minister of Japan now,
This is from 2014, sorry.
Shinzo Abe was famous for this term called Abenomics, which I don't actually know what it is. Like, I don't know anything about it. But
it's also known as the 3-arrow plan.
Right. Basically, the idea is that the key parts of the Abenomics like theory can be summarized with the 3 arrows. But
it's like a fiscal
yeah.
thing, right?
Okay. So
it's supposed to like the way they were gonna like bring their economy up, and it was about doing all these 3 things at once,
yes,
right?
Because Japan was suffering from a situation known as stagflation.
Right.
Which is something I also can't explain right now.
Yeah, not relevant to this podcast.
Well, I mean, I think these are going to be some pretty dry arrows.
Well, we don't need to read the arrows.
No, I think we need to say
explain...
what each arrow is.
Okay.
So the first arrow is dramatic monetary easing.
Oh, yeah, well, that's an important one. But that arrow alone, if you just do that, it's not going to work.
Then the second arrow is a robust fiscal policy.
Well, if you just do that alone, that's not going to work either.
And the third arrow, policies for growth to spur private investment.
Now, that's a good arrow, but if you do that again, just by itself, it's not going to work.
Will Abenomics succeed? I don't know. This article was written a while ago. Did it succeed? I don't know. Japanese people tell me.
Yeah. Email us. Let us know. Did this work? He's not prime minister anymore.
He resigned, I think, because of stress, is what he said.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say, I don't know if he's prime minister anymore, but I don't know
he is not.
For what reason that is.
Yeah, he resigned, I think, for health reasons.
There you go. I hope he's doing okay.
Yeah.
Unless he's a dirtbag.
I don't know. I don't know Japanese people. I know nothing about politics. I do
Yeah,
not know whether or not
yeah.
he's a dirtbag or not.
Yeah, so let's move right on from that. There's also
Um,
apparently a trading card based on this guy, but my point has been made, I think, is that
right.
this guy is it's well known, and that's where he got the idea for the film, is from this arrow parable that everybody seems to
Yeah.
have heard of.
Well, what I will
Um,
say is that this entire movie reminded me of a card game.
oh,
A
God.
very rare card game, I think. Actually, what did I just do?
Just deleted a
I think
bunch
it's a
of shit.
pretty uncommon card game anyway. It's called Honor of the Samurai, and it's taught me a lot of things about the Sengoku period.
Interesting. I've never played it.
Well, yeah, you haven't. You refuse every time we ask if you want to play it.
No, I've never played that game.
It's anyway, and there's all anyway. I kept thinking like, oh, you know, when Saburo's men came out of the woods, they're like, man, he's using the gunpowder weapons card.
I don't know what that means. Never played that game.
Right.
Those of you who have played that game
It's a great game.
will know what he's talking about. I'm sure we'll get that joke and guffaw at the appropriate degree.
Yeah.
But I can't,
So
unfortunately.
if Felix or any of my brothers are listening, you'll get that. Yeah. There's this. Yeah, he's well known for this parable, which they put right into the movie. I assume that I guess most Japanese people probably would have recognized that would have been a reference to that.
I think so. It seems to be pretty well known.
Right. Okay.
So now we're gonna do a little bit of a miniature truth.
We're only playing a bit of it.
There you go. Exactly, just a tiny bit, because it's just a little miniature truth.
But
it's
you knew what
unrelated.
that was from that.
Yeah, we all knew what that was. It was the truth theme and nothing else.
Yeah, it's definitely not.
Yeah,
I'm
pretty sure we have the copyright to that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we own that.
Yeah, I'm
Anyway.
pretty sure that's ours. So in reality, the arrow parable is not true. But
Do we know for a fact that it's not true?
probably it's assumed that it's probably not true. But here's
Right.
the thing: is I
Because
don't
if he
know
said
why.
that, how would they know that? How would they know that he didn't say that?
Exactly, I don't know why. Because
Unless they
here's
have
the
evidence
thing.
that somebody else made it up.
That's what I was.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is I was looking, because everybody seemed so sure that it probably didn't happen, and then everyone kept saying,
It's like, how do you know he
"Probably
never
didn't
said
happen."
that? I mean,
Exactly. So
I would
was
understand if
Googling.
they had like evidence that like this was basically made up by somebody else.
So that's what I was looking for. I unfortunately couldn't find anything like that,
But
but
at least not in English.
not in English. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what I was thinking, is maybe there's some more information not in English, but
Yeah.
maybe by next week I'll have uncovered this. So
Okay.
we'll see. But in reality, Mori was a cunning strategist. So the point being, he's famous because he won this specific battle that I just wanted to walk you through, because it might sound a bit familiar.
Okay.
So I'm just going to read a bit of an excerpt from Stephen Turnbull's The Samurai and Military History. In 1514, Mori began hostilities, but faced with an enemy who could muster 30,000 men, decided that a stratagem was necessary. Now it happened that certain of Mori's generals had suggested fortifying the island of Miyajima. This island, also known as Itsukushima, contained the shrine so beloved of the Taira clan. It lies about 12 miles southwest of Hiroshima. There's an old tradition connected with Miyajima. It was once strictly enforced religious rule that Miyajima should not be polluted by the occurrence of either a birth or a death. Kind of an interesting rule. There is still no cemetery on Miyajima, although this book was written in 1977, I believe, so that might not be true anymore.
I don't know. Maybe I assume they would keep it, keep that rule. But yeah.
Yeah. The dead are buried on the mainland, and the mourners undergo purification rituals before returning. Mori Montanari was fully aware of this rule, but was enough of an opportunist to put religion on one side and treat the holy island as a potential Trojan horse. So
Wow,
this is where it gets
that is bad
interesting.
form.
That is extremely bad form. So this is where it
Did
gets
he just
interesting.
ambush them on the island?
Kinda. So this is what he does. He constructed a fortress on Miyajima, set ostentatiously near the Great Shrine. And then the castle was manned by May in 1555. So it took a while to build this fucking
Well,
like
yeah,
this
it's
was a
a fucking
long.
castle. Yeah,
So soon after building it, he began to publicly bewail his quote folly in building a castle that could so easily be captured by Sue, who soon obligingly, and this is the guy he's fighting clearly,
yeah.
obviously, who soon obligingly commandeered a fleet of junks and captured Miyajima in an almost bloodless struggle. Mori, in the meantime, was busy capturing the castle directly across the strait, thus cutting off Sue's means of retreat. The latter fortified the castle with a garrison of 500 men and encamped the rest of the army on the island. An impressive show of strength, no doubt, but the fact that Sue had his entire army on the island with him made the situation look uncomfortably like a siege. Yeah.
That's so funny. It's like, well, you're trying to siege my castle. Well, now I'm sieging your castle.
I'm sieging you. Try and siege me, will you? I'll
Yeah,
siege you.
yeah, that's
Um,
funny.
so finally, for Mori, it was a question of how and when to launch a surprise attack. The odds were 5-1, but surprise would be easy to achieve, as Sua, in his watery fastness, felt sufficiently secure to dispense with sentries. The Mori army eventually set sail on a dark October night during a blinding rainstorm. They were transported across the strait by pirates, whom Mori ordered to return after landing his army so that no boats would be available for a retreating enemy. Then the army was divided in two, one contingent under the Mori, father and son, and the other, Kikawa, sailed around the northern tip of the island to land on a beach a mile or so behind Sua's camp. The other force, slightly less than 1,500 men, under Kobayakawa, sailed directly down the strait for a few miles, then doubled back when out of sight of the castle to make a frontal assault at dawn. The same time that the others attacked the rear. The surprise was total, and to the accompaniment of shell trumpets, Daimori samurai carried all before them. Finding that there were no boats in which to escape, the Sioux troops committed suicide by the hundred, either by drowning or by time-honored method.
The time-honored method, I assume they're referring
So,
to seppuku.
yes. Yeah. As for the pollution of death, Mori Motonori saw to it that the island was wiped clean of blood. I don't know if that's gonna.
I don't know if that's good
Um,
enough, but yeah.
According to Stephen Turnbull, the gods evidently approved, for the victory of Miyajima raised his family to a position of preeminence in Western Japan. And yeah, so for the rest of his history, he was pretty successful in Western Japan.
Wow, he kicked ass.
So he was shifty.
Yeah, but yeah, he definitely did some questionable, activities.
Yeah, I think there was. I just thought there was some familiar shiftiness in that story, so I
What,
thought
like
I'd
kind
share
of
it.
like surprising and attacking the castle when they weren't looking?
Yeah, and like exactly. It's like the decoy and then the surprise attack at a different
Yeah,
castle. And
exactly.
I don't know. I thought just maybe if Kurosawa was obsessed with this guy and looking into it, maybe he lifted some stuff because this is the battle he's the most famous for. This guy, like this is
Yeah,
his opus.
right.
So I don't know. Maybe he read it and lifted some details from that. Maybe not. But yeah, so this is kind of so Kurosawa, yeah, decided to base his film on this parable because he thought it was cool.
But yeah,
So
so he thought that basically it would be good to put like a little bit of spin on it though. And as
yeah,
Kurosawa says, he wanted to put a little bit of a spin on this movie to make it more interesting. And as he said in an interview with Gerald Perry, Peary, might say, sorry, as he said in an interview with Gerald Peary, uh, when I read the three arrows together are invincible, that's not true. Kurosawa said, recalling the evolution of his screenplay, I started doubting, and that's when I started thinking. The house was prosperous, and the sons were courageous. What if this fascinating man had bad sons?
So there you go. What if this fascinating man had bad sons?
Yeah.
We're gonna come back to what he did with this next week.
Yeah. Although, I think the real Motonari would not have trusted his sons.
No, because like you said earlier,
Don't trust anyone, even your family.
don't even trust your family because they're gonna fuck you over.
Especially not your family. Well, you didn't say that.
Oh well,
but...
that reminds me. I totally forgot to put this in the outline, so now I'm glad that reminded me. When I was reading about this guy, so first his father died suddenly of alcohol poisoning, and then his brother died suddenly, who inherited the kingdom, died suddenly of alcohol poisoning.
Are you saying he assassinated them? He
I'm not
poisoned
done.
them?
So then this kid's son became a child warlord, essentially. And, was kind of in charge for a few years what's his name? The guy we've just been talking about, whose first name I can't seem to remember. Motonari, yeah. He was his regent. And then this kid suddenly died as well.
So are you saying that it was an assassination that he poisoned them?
I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying 3 people died in order for this guy to get to power. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
3 people died suddenly.
Well, it happens.
It happens. It's not unheard of. But anyway.
Yeah, it's not unheard of that, people poison people.
Are you threatening me?
No, I'm just saying, I think there are plenty of examples in history and currently of, rulers knocking off their immediate, rivals.
There's a shocking amount of current leaders poisoning people around.
Well, not necessarily poisoning, but other means of assassination.
I think there's more than one poisoning leader right now, though.
Did Mohammed bin Salman poison anybody?
Did
Mohammed bin Salman poison anybody? I thought he was more into just, dismemberment.
No, he hasn't poisoned anybody, not that we know of. I'm sure he's poisoned somebody.
I mean, he's assassinated people, lots of people.
Yeah.
I guess not necessarily by poison.
Yeah, but no. So Kim Jong-un killed his brother.
Oh, that was by poison. Yeah, that was definitely poison.
And then obviously the other one,
who's
listening all the time.
Putin?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's true.
So there's 2
he wasn't related, though.
He wasn't, but we didn't even.
Yeah, right. I mean, specifically with family of people poisoning their, extended family.
Yeah.
But yeah, Putin obviously poisoned people.
So with that, let's play that sound effect from your Russian camera.
Oh, yeah. All right. Let's talk about how they shot it.
How? How did they shoot it?
Okay, so, well, very well.
Extremely well. That's the answer, yeah. With extreme care.
Exactly. So, first things first, we have actually 3 cinematographers.
Is that because of units, or are they just all working together? Or
Well, I mean, I will kind of probably explain why there were 3
We'll get into it, okay.
But, so, the 3 cinematographers were Takao Saito, Masahiro Ueda, and Asakuzu Nakai.
Okay. I assume at least one of them has worked with him before, because that seems to be a theme.
Yes, I'm pretty sure they all have.
Have they all worked on one movie before at the same time?
I don't know for a fact if they have, but they may have.
They may have.
So, we also have many assistant cameras, so I'm not going to name them all. But They were there and they did their job, and we are
They
thankful.
were unnamed.
No, I just do I have to read all of them right now?
How many are there? Tell me how many there are, and I'll tell you if you have to read all of them.
Well, okay, there's like 10
Okay, no, you don't have to do
because
that.
they haven't listed first and second assistant camera, right?
Oh,
It
they're
just
just
says
all
assistant
assistant
camera.
cameras.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get into why it's there's so many.
Yeah. Well, I mean, part of that is just because I think they probably didn't list them separately. I
That's
mean,
part of it. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I actually don't know how the Japanese film industry works, so it's possible that like they don't have the exact same positions that we do here in the West.
Right, right, right. There might not be a first AC as we are familiar
Yeah,
with
exactly. The roles might be slightly different, right? But
it. Yeah.
anyway, so Kurosawa, like, for this movie, every shot, like, beforehand was meticulously planned on paintings, and he produced like hundreds of paintings before it ever got to film.
Yeah.
And sort of that is, I think, how like he planned out this very specific like framing. Like it was all, and I mean, unfortunately, we can't show you any of these paintings, but they're all very interesting. And like
But yeah,
you can
we'll
see that
we'll
like
post some of them.
yeah, but he definitely like this was all like planned out way in advance.
Yeah, we'll talk again next week, but like yeah, this was a long time coming.
Yeah, and so it was shot on 35 millimeter film.
What, it wasn't digital?
No, it wasn't. I was
Yeah.
kind of disappointed that it was shot on Kodak film. I was hoping that it was shot on Fujifilm, just because it's a Japanese movie. But no, it was Kodak. And they used a lot of film. Actually, do you want to do the thing we were planning on doing the other day, but we stopped?
Oh yeah.
Where
Yeah,
we
yeah.
figured out how much film would cost. So I'm going to live calculate this, because this
Okay,
is a
here
long
we go.
film. Let's calculate how long it would have taken, how much money it would have cost to shoot this film today.
How much the film cost? Yeah, today.
Okay, so first of all, what stock did they use? They used Eastman 125 T and 400 T. I'm just gonna go with the closest. Okay, so I think the closest. Let's just say nowadays they would use 200 T because they don't have that exact stock available anymore.
Something comparable.
Exactly. And let's assume they're buying it on 1,000 foot rolls.
Of course. Wait, is there a bigger rule?
Like you might be able to buy it like in bulk if you're buying like a huge amount of it, but I think 1,000 feet is probably like the biggest you can reasonably get.
Right, okay.
I mean that's usually the size that they'll buy it in because it like that's how much would fit in the camera.
Right.
So as per Kodak's current prices, 2020, it costs $791.40 US for 1,000 feet of Kodak 200T, which is
1,000 feet.
I will say probably the closest available film to what they shot on.
Okay.
Now,
So how much time?
the final cut of the film was 2 hours and 42 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
162 minutes.
162 minutes. I think that translates to about 4,443 meters of film.
Okay.
So, how many meters are in a foot? 3.28 feet per meter.
3.28 feet per meter. Okay. And it's
Which,
about $790 per.
so that
1,000
means
feet.
we have 14,500 feet of film roughly.
Oh god.
14,576. That's in the print.
That's just in the print. Yeah, that's not counting the raw footage.
Yeah. So I happen to know that I mean, well, I'll just say it now because I kind of alluded to this earlier. They used 3 cameras on pretty much every shot. So
sick.
let's just multiply that by 3. Okay?
Okay. They 3 cameras on every shot.
And so let's say that what they shot worked out like okay, that's not Stanley Kubrick here. So let's go with a reasonable say they shot let's say 6-1.
Sure.
So they shot every scene averages out to 6 times.
Sure, that seems reasonable.
Which we will talk later that there are scenes that they did not shoot 6 times.
Yeah, no.
Some of these scenes were done in one take, for sure.
They had to.
Exactly. So then we have, let's say, 6-1. Okay, so the final film in feet. Let's say this is all the film they would have needed to do.
Yeah.
Is
our estimation is
262,381 feet of film.
262,381.
Now, the smallest amount of film you can buy is 400 feet in 35 millimeters. So we're gonna round that up to 262,400.
262,400.
Okay. So let's just do 262,000 firstly, and then we'll add the 400 because it's a different price in 400 feet.
Yeah, okay.
Times the price of 1,000 feet, we divide by 1,000. So that's $207,000, $207,346.80 for just the 1,000-foot rolls, and then we need to actually add one extra 400-foot roll to finish that.
Oh yeah, to get the number exactly correct.
To get the number exactly correct. So that is $316.
So the final number of what we think they spent on film, or what they would spend on film if they were buying it today, rather.
So, if they were to shoot this nowadays, they would spend $663.39 on film.
So what is that round? What's the best rounded number to that?
We'll just say $200,000.
200,000. Oh yeah, 2,000. Yeah.
So, which is actually, considering the budget of this movie was around $11 million, even in those days, not a huge part of the budget.
Yeah, really, not.
This is assuming they were shooting 6-1, which isn't always the case. Like, if it's Stanley Kubrick, then it's like,
40,000 to 1.
Yeah. However, if this is an independent movie, that's a huge portion of the budget.
Yeah, exactly. That's like, oh, jeez, we have to spend that much. How much?
Yeah, I know, exactly. So it's like pretty much every movie is gonna cost it's gonna cost probably at least $100,000 of film. On 35. Well, you do it on 16 millimeter, it's going to cost that. Oh, and I haven't even factored in lab fees.
Oh, God.
Which is probably going to double that number, to be honest.
Yeah, right. The actual, processing of the film.
So if you were to shoot this movie nowadays, which is, to be fair, a long movie, and they had 3 cameras going.
Imagine if they made this movie
basically
today.
Spend $500,000 on film, which is what Quentin Tarantino does for every movie.
So we basically just figured out how much of Quentin Tarantino's budget is spent on film.
I assume he spends it based on these calculations, unless he's getting a different price that's in this catalog, which is possible because he's Quentin Tarantino.
Possible. Yeah.
I think he has a deal with Kodak.
Probably. He's probably helping keep the industry alive.
Exactly. So yeah, basically every movie. I estimated the lab fees, by the way. I assume that it's basically based on what I pay for lab fees. It's essentially the cost of the film times 2.
So $200,000 to $400,000, we'll say.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's wait, we didn't even factor in dailies.
How well wouldn't that be part? Oh yeah, right though.
So let's just double that. Because you need to make the dailies. Well, the dailies are probably cheaper to process, but, Anyway, it's a lot of film. And it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
If you were to do this today. I'm sure it was still expensive then.
But honestly, a little bit less than I anticipated.
Yeah, maybe.
I thought it'd be even more expensive to get that much film today. But
well, I mean, there's also other reasons that shooting on film is expensive besides buying it.
Well,
you need to have people that know how to use it,
and
those people.
It's just a slower process. I think the time.
Well, it can be. Yeah.
I guess if you have all.
Actors are notoriously slow, so.
Yeah, well, you can never count on them, can you?
No. Anyway, so that's that. That is how much film this would have taken. However, let's talk about what they put on that film.
Yes.
So, like, as I said earlier, there were basically three cameras going at all times, which I assume is why they had three cinematographers.
Makes sense.
And that obviously makes a ton of sense for this film for a couple reasons. One of them is, like, Kurosawa likes to use generally really long lenses, like telephotos. Generally, these are shot with telephotos standing really far away. Like,
Yeah.
because a telephoto is like really zoomed in, right? So in order to
Yeah.
get the same shot as you would with a regular lens, you need to be standing really far back. So I think we're talking about like probably he's using like an 85 millimeter for most of this movie.
An 85 millimeter lens for most of the movie.
One of the reasons for that is what that does is that really like compresses the perspective and makes the whole world seem like more flat, which I
Right.
think kind of emulates the look of the art from the period that he's going after.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah,
and
because if you
that's,
look at
again,
old Japanese art, it actually doesn't have perspective.
Yeah, exactly. It's got that very flat
Very flat,
nature to it.
two-dimensional kind of look. And that really works in the worlds of this movie. And so, but the other thing is that when you do that, and you have the other cameras really far apart, you have less of a chance of the cameras seeing each other.
Ah.
Because, like, generally, one of the reasons why you would not want to use a multiple camera setup is
Because you might accidentally, yeah.
you might. It's harder to set. You have to compromise the shots so that you don't see the other cameras.
Yeah, right.
And for this reason, cinematographers like Roger Deakins refuse to shoot on more than one camera
I
because they
understand.
think it compromises the shot. And so,
well, you can't do something that
yeah,
you
there are certain things you can't
could've
do.
done.
And so I think that when he used these super long lenses, that kind of allowed him to do that. And the other thing is, we're talking about shots with lots of extras where you are doing like,
massive.
things. And like it costs a lot of money to do each one of these. So it's like each one of these shots. So it's like if you don't want to have to do the scene 3 times to get the different angles, because that's just going to
Well,
cost more money.
Imagine like doing like yeah, exactly the fucking like charge scene with like
People
100
falling off horses
plus
and shit.
horses,
Like-
and then it's like oh no, like we gotta reset and do it again. Like how fucking long and like that's multiple days. That is.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah,
You're
and it's
shaving
like, are
days
you
off.
really gonna be able to do the scene 3 times from 3 different angles and have it be consistent with that many people?
no. The answer is no.
Yeah. So that's why there are 3 cameras, and that's probably why there are 3 cinematographers.
It adds up.
Yeah.
Well done. Yeah. Good sleuthing.
But yeah, other than that, I think the film looks really good.
Yeah, well, I guess that flat kind of that's again another thing that the colors is why everything looks so much like a painting.
Yeah, I know exactly.
And the
fact
the
that it was based
staging.
on paintings.
Yeah, well that too.
It was literally restaging paintings. But yeah, yeah, I was really hoping it was shot on Fujifilm, but no, it was not. Anyway,
Cool.
that's how they shot it.
That's how they shot it. So I guess that means we have one more segment before we close her off for the day.
Yeah.
But what segment would that be?
No, I don't know. It's a little segment. I don't know. All right, welcome to 6 Degrees of Star Trek, the segment in which we show you that everything is in fact connected to Star Trek.
It all comes back
Everything.
to Trek.
Everything comes
All
back
the
to Trek.
roads lead back to
All
Trek.
the roads lead to Trek.
Yep.
So, I have 3
How
connections.
does this film connect to Trek?
How does this film connect to Trek? It connects to Trek in the normal mechanism, as we've outlined many times, in which it can be through any kind of Star Trek screen appearance. And
Right.
you don't have to be in Star Trek, but if you're in something with somebody else who is in Star Trek, you can also have a connection.
You can bounce off. It's a connection. It's a multiple staged.
So that's what we're going to talk about here because nobody in this movie was in Star Trek, unfortunately.
What? No.
Yeah, I always find this annoying with Japanese movies. You have to go through more steps.
Yeah, the few international films that we've done has
They've been more
complicated the
difficult.
process
Yeah. So
ever so slightly.
I would like to start with our first connection. Tatsuya Nakadai, who plays Lord Hidetora Ichimonji
Himself.
He was in a film known as Return from the River Kwai. Not to be confused with the film Bridge over the River Kwai.
Oh yeah, you cannot confuse those two very different films.
They are not related at all. There were
One's not.
none of the people were involved that were.
You sure it's not a sequel?
No, it's definitely not a sequel. I read up on it.
Okay.
So Tatsuya Nakadai was in this film. He played Major Harada, I assume a Japanese soldier.
What's a fair assumption?
But who else played a soldier in that movie by the name of Lieutenant Tanaka is none other than George Takei.
No shit. What year was this film?
1989.
No shit.
So, yeah, that's our Star Trek connection. It's if you have not seen Star Trek: The Original Series.
That's a good fucking connection. He's
yeah.
close. That's a good connection.
Yeah,
You got fucking Sulu right there.
Exactly. All right.
Adjacent, one might even say.
Next, we have actor Hisashi Igawa, who plays Kurogane.
Okay. Oh yeah, the sickest dude.
Kurogane, who decapitates Lady Kaeda.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, he does.
Isn't he the one that doesn't?
No, he doesn't decapitate Sue. He decapitates Kaeda.
Oh yeah, right. Sorry. Fuck me, I'm so bad with these names.
He's the one in the GIF that I sent you.
Yeah. I know. He's a sick character. I was getting her mixed up with the other one.
Kurogane, played by Hisashi Igawa. So Hisashi Igawa was in a film, a 1995 television film called Hiroshima.
Oh wow, it sounds dark.
Well, it was a sort of historical film about the bombing of Hiroshima. So, yeah. But we actually have 2 Star Trek connections in this film.
No shit.
Okay.
What are they?
The first...
So, what year did you say it was? Sorry.
1995. So the first is the legendary Canadian actor Saul Rubinek.
Legendary Canadian actor Saul Rubinek?
I don't know. Are you familiar with Saul Rubinek? I assume so.
I think, yeah, that name is extremely familiar. Hold on.
Just Google him, and as soon as you see him, you'll be like, that guy.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember him in Star Trek?
Oh.
Can you place it?
Yeah. No, who is he?
Okay, so he played Kivas Fajo in the episode The Most Toys in a 1990 episode of Star Trek The Next Generation.
Yeah.
So this is where he kidnaps Data.
Oh, there he is. Yeah, I see him in his outfit. Yeah.
Yeah, it was his tattoo. He kidnaps Data, and he's like, "Well, you're my like property now," and he's like,
"Yeah,"
because he collects things. It's his thing.
So then we have to deal with the whole: is Data a man or a machine? But
yeah, that whole
clearly
thing.
He's a man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's still a machine.
But he's a man.
Can he be both?
Picard proved it in court.
That's true. That was an episode. Although clearly it didn't stick because there was that whole controversy in Voyager about whether or not the Doctor had the rights to a story that he wrote.
Oh, well, he's a different Their non-human rights are a slow process.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, that was the first connection. The other
That was the
connection.
second connection.
No, sorry, that was the first connection from
Oh,
Hiroshima.
from this movie. Right, right. Yeah. That's right.
The other connection is the actor Kenneth Welsh, who is also Canadian.
Kenneth Welsh. Oh, look at that.
And he was in Hiroshima and played President Harry S. Truman.
Did he really?
Yeah, in that film.
But he's Canadian.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Canadians play people all the time who aren't Canadian.
Insanity.
He was
This
also
guy played Truman?
yeah.
Okay. Actually, no, I can maybe a little bit younger. I can see it.
Yeah. He was also in Twin Peaks as Wyndham Earle.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there it is, right there.
Yeah. That's true. But anyway.
Here he is with a bunch of marijuana. Wonder what he's doing there.
But what we care about was when he was in Star Trek.
What did he do in Star Trek?
Specifically, he was in Star Trek Discovery.
Oh, okay, that's why I'm not recognizing
He
him.
was in one episode in person, and he was in another episode as a voice. He
Okay, who was he?
Admiral Senatal.
Oh yeah, there he is with what's his name?
The
captain?
Saru? Is it? Where are you? Is he the big alien guy? He was in Star Trek Discovery anyway. Yeah, Kevin Welsh, Star Trek Discovery. That was our third connection. We have 3 connections. They're all 2 degrees.
Makes sense.
So everything is connected to Star Trek, even Japanese movies. From the
every 80s. Road leads back, or should I say every wormhole?
What?
I was trying to think of a space version of road.
Right.
But there are no roads
warp,
in space.
Like, every warp.
Every warp course.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I feel like wormholes would be appropriate if we were talking about Stargate, but we're not.
We're not.
But we're talking about Trek.
Yeah, we're trekking through the stars, not
at the
gates in them.
At the end of every Trek is Star Trek.
Is what?
I said at the end of every Trek is Star Trek.
I don't know what you're saying.
All journeys lead to Star Trek.
Oh, right.
At the end of every track is Star Trek.
Precisely. Well put.
Yes.
Precisely.
And with that, I think we are bringing our episode to a close.
That is the end of this week's episode. But we will be back next week with much more stuff. We're going to talk
indeed. Give me 1 second. We are going to talk about... What are we going to talk about, Keaton?
Well, we're going to talk about the director, Kurosawa himself, a bit. We'll get a bit of background and actually kind of figure out where in his career this is. And then we're going to talk kind of about the production area. That whole thing, as we always do. And then finally we'll get down to the bottom of what's really fucking going on here.
Exactly. Because there's shit going on.
There's something going on here. So we'll get to the bottom of that. So yeah, that's that as always.
Yeah, I would like to thank our French listeners for tuning in.
Yes, thank you, French. C'est bon, mon ami.
Okay, they'll leave if you.
J'adore.
Right. All right. So we will see you next week. I will play the music.
Yeah, social media and all that.